Welcome. I'm Alison Jane Reed, the journalist founder of Ethical-Hedonist magazine, and today I'm in conversation with Chris Killam, the medicine hunter, sometimes referred to as the modern David Attenborough, with a dash of Indiana Jones. We're here to talk about the miraculous medicinal powers of plants and herbs and flowers. There's a real buzz about medicinal plants right now, and in particular ashwagandha, saffron and turmeric. What are your thoughts on turmeric and why there is so much excitement in the scientific community as well as the plant-based medicinal world?
Well, a couple of decades ago, one of the criticisms of the herbal scene in general was that many people thought there wasn't enough science.
They would say there wasn't enough evidence base.
Right. And those days are so long gone, that comment doesn't come up anymore. We've seen first of all, turmeric root, which is used as a common spice and derives from Asia, has been used for thousands of years. And it's been a medicine as well as a food and a spice for thousands of years. But over the past couple of decades, we've seen a body of science showing that it's profoundly anti-inflammatory, it's antimicrobial, it has a host of benefits to the brain, to immune function, to the cardiovascular system, and so much more. And so this has really, I think it has startled some people.
Well, you make it sound like the wonder spice.
Well,
why does it have so many therapeutic properties? What is it about turmeric? Where does it grow that means that it has these powerful compounds that can have this effect on the body?
Well, we do not know why certain plants in an environment will become especially beneficial. Turmeric grows in the presence of other plants in Asia where it derives, and those other plants, frankly, in many cases, are not particularly special. They grow in the same soil, they grow under the same sun, they get the same water, and yet they don't have the same properties. So the why of it, we don't know. But what we do know is that turmeric contains novel compounds called curcuminoids, and we describe that entire group of compounds as curcumin. And it turns out that curcumin is the broadest anti-inflammatory agent we've ever seen in any class. It totally smokes the pharmaceuticals in terms of the breadth of its anti-inflammatory activity. And because inflammation is part and parcel of every chronic and degenerative disease you can name, diabetes, anything that ends in itis.
Well, inflammation is something that creeps up as we age, doesn't it? It's the biggest challenge as we age.
It creeps up as we age. It creeps up due to exposure to environmental toxins, bad habits like smoking cigarettes, poor diet. Inflammation, sadly, is not so much age-related anymore. We see a lot of very young people with profoundly inflammatory diseases, chronic obesity, type 2 diabetes.
Well, isn't that because of the way we're living, that we're living very westernized lives? We're eating food that we weren't designed to eat,
right?
Which is why we have the presence of inflammation.
And we're also eating a lot of foods that are industrially designed to deliver enormous amounts of fat and sugar, which gives a certain sense of satisfaction, but doesn't actually nourish us.
Yeah, they say that we are actually more malnourished than we've ever been.
We are.
That we overeat.
We're
not eating the right stuff.
And in fact, you look at India, where turmeric root is probably more widely used than almost any other place. It used to be that Indian people were, by and large, unusually thin because of malnutrition. Now we see a tremendous increase in obesity there. But to get back to turmeric specifically, it has been documented very well that turmeric root enhances immune function. that it takes LDL cholesterol down and it brings the beneficial HDL cholesterol up. So very good for the cardiovascular system.
Is it important about how you actually use it? I mean, how can we incorporate turmeric into our lives and get these exciting benefits?
Well, there are a couple of ways.
Should we be
I mean,
using it
my
in supplement form?
I think the fact is that most people in the West don't have the habit or necessarily the palate to eat turmeric the way it's eaten, say, in Southeast Asia or in India. I mean, when I go into a grocery store and I watch people buy turmeric, they take the tongs and they get 2 little roots and they put them in a plastic bag and they take it home, and this is probably going to last them weeks. When you walk into a market in Delhi or Kuala Lumpur, a woman walks up to the turmeric, gets 2 kilos of it in a bag, and cooks half of it at home that night, chops it up as a vegetable.
The way they use it is so different.
Well, it is.
They understand how to
it is,
cook with it on a daily basis.
Yes, and the key is that the curcumin, which is really the most beneficial part of the turmeric root, along with the naturally occurring essential oils, is absorbed in the body in the presence of fats and oils. Now, in the old Ayurvedic Indian texts, they say, chop up your turmeric root and boil it in fatty buffalo milk. They figured out, 2,000 years ago, that it's the presence of fat that allows you to absorb the good stuff. So you can take turmeric root and you can cut it up and do it in a stir fry. And if you have enough of it, you're going to get great health benefits from it. Most people won't do that.
I understand that we should be eating it on a daily basis.
Yeah, sure.
To get the benefits.
But because many people won't take on that habit, there are supplements that extract the curcumin from the turmeric root. When this is dry, about 3% of it will be curcumin. That's the orange, the color is curcumin.
It looks a bit like a carrot, doesn't it?
Well, it does. It certainly doesn't taste like a carrot. But
what does it taste like?
Well, give it a try. Don't be shy. I mean, I like the taste of turmeric root.
I like the taste of it.
But if
it's
you
slightly aromatic.
It's
aromatic.
It's
not like anything I've ever tasted before.
No, it is aromatic. It's good.
Slightly bitter.
And if you cook this with other vegetables, if you chop it up and you cook it with onions and carrots and squash and peppers and things, it's really quite delicious.
Have you seen turmeric growing? I mean, I understand turmeric grows in very hot, arid conditions.
I've seen it
mirrors the effect it can have on the body.
Yes.
Dealing with hot.
I've seen
conditions.
it growing in India. I've seen it growing in China, growing in Malaysia, and I recently did a project in Thailand, specifically going to growers of turmeric, and saw vast hills of it being grown, which was really quite a lot of fun.
What does it look like? I mean, does it actually grow underground? It's a root.
Well, it's a root, and you don't see the root when it's growing. Obviously, there are these long green blades, almost like giant grass.
Yeah.
And so when you come upon a field of turmeric, it sort of looks like elephant grass, maybe this high or so. The blades are about this wide. And they're very, very pretty. And there's no hint from the appearance of the aerial parts of the plant, that is the above ground parts of the plant, that you get this beautiful orange root underneath. A lot of people use curcumin supplements to very good effect, and almost all of the human studies that have been done on the benefits of curcumin have been done with supplementary curcumin, not with raw and fresh curcumin, as it turns out. Right. So we know a lot about it. One of the curious things is that when you consume turmeric root, it causes your body to produce what are called neuroprotective factors. So we naturally produce compounds that protect our nerves and specifically protect the cells of our brains.
Yeah.
Poor diet can reduce the amount of neuroprotective agents that we're making in our bodies. When you eat turmeric, you get a lot of that. You get a lot of these neuroprotective agents.
So is it fairly instantaneous, the benefit?
No, it's not
Or
instantaneous.
so it's cumulative.
It's cumulative.
Yeah.
And we also know that with Alzheimer's disease and some other neurodegenerative disorders, you get what's called plaque in the brainstem. And we know from good science, published in reputable medical journals, that when you consume a lot of turmeric root, or if you consume curcumin in a good supplementary form, that what happens is that reduces the incidence of plaque in the brainstem. And we're still not sure with Alzheimer's if the plaque is causal. But we know that as Alzheimer's gets worse, there's more and more plaque. So if you can reduce that, if you can bring it down or prevent the accumulation of it, that's a big, big deal.